Uh, okay, so this week's topic is KBs and AI tasks and trying to figure out how they work together. I am by no woohoo, yes, a few people have been asking for this. So we're doing it this week. Uh, it's a very broad topic. So if you guys have any questions, ask them in the chat and we'll deal with them. Otherwise, I have a list of things that we noted down as common issues that people have, and hopefully I can, hopefully I can help you save yourselves from the issues. Um, okay, so the first point is context in the knowledge agent. So I've seen a lot of people add things to the context in the knowledge agent to show you that you click agents here, then open up the knowledge agent. And I don't know if you've noticed here, but we have provide context to KBs. KBs being knowledge bases. Here it says providing context helps knowledge bases give better answers. We recommend including the transcript of the conversation and or the summary of the conversation provided by the summary agent. Uh, Interestingly, I think this only works if this is on, so, but there's no warning. So here's pitfall number one. Don't disable the summary agent if you want context to be in your KB. Uh, Let me turn it back on because there's not much reason to turn this off. Youssef says, one of the biggest issues, the answer generated by KB has no citation to back up the answer. Skipping answer. And Robert says, no, this is Patrick. Interesting. Has no citation to back up the answer. Okay, so I'll add this to the talking points, but I'll talk about it a little bit later. So citations. Okay. So back to the knowledge agent. We have the context here, and we've seen people add lots of stuff in there. And there are things that work, and there are things that don't really work. Examples of things that don't really work would be translation. So, for instance, if I were to say something like, I can leave this actually. I could say like translate everything to Chinese, and I try it like that. I need to provide some information. So what I did was there's this Unity page, plan pricing and packaging updates, which is very much in demand nowadays. So I just saved this as a PDF like this and just upload it. I'm going to upload it now actually. Let me go back to flows, add a knowledge base, here, click documents, add documents, and oops, actually I'm not going to do that. I'm going to click unity.pdf right here, click confirm. All right, I'm going to go back to main. I'm going to ask a question. What question should we ask Unity about the pricing? Let's see. Will this new pricing policy, I should say, right? Pricing policy affect me? Hopefully that works. Yes, the new pricing policy will affect you. Sorry, this is what Unity should have said, but they said it won't affect you, and of course everybody said that's not true. But anyways, yes, it will affect a lot of people, and we have our answer here. But the thing I wanted to show you was not that it was working or it wasn't working, was that it's not translating. So if we go back to our knowledge agent here, we can see here that we wrote translate everything to Chinese, and it just ignored that. There are use cases where I've seen it work. So people writing like convert bullet points to numbered lists. So if we were to do something like this, it kind of can work. It won't work every time. And I don't personally recommend doing this. You can try it. You can see if it works. If it does and you're happy with it, like leave it as is. Otherwise, AI tasks are better for this, and we'll do that a bit later. But for the moment, I just wanted to go through a few examples. So another example is the personality here. You can try saying like be very funny in your answers. You are an assistant, let's say, for Unity. Be very funny in your answers. Because I was gonna say because you're a joke right now, but because you're trying to diffuse the tension due to a new policy, a new change in pricing policy. All right, this is not what you should be doing, but anyways, we'll ask it to do that. Let's try this out. I'm gonna restart the conversation and try it again. Let's see if it works. It doesn't change anything. Okay. So I've seen some cases where it works, some cases where it doesn't work. I recommend staying away from that. Another thing is, so we've already covered like to manipulate the response. That's converting lists to bullet points or vice versa. I would avoid these. If you have problems, like don't try to fix them in here. If it works, fine. If you have problems, just use AI tasks. Okay, so I'm gonna remove this right now. Bring it back to here. Now the things that you can use this for. If you it might not work here. I can try like what is the date? Sometimes your questions are date dependent. By default, we don't provide the date. I mean, last I checked. So I'm going to try it here. Okay. See, this is the problem here. So it comes up with this date, which is the date where the announcement was made, but it doesn't know today's date. So if I try to ask it like when was this, and I wanna hear something like 1 month ago, 1 year ago, this is not really gonna work well. So what I've seen people do, and this works well, we remove this here, and then we can add something like new date. Oops. Oh, what is happening here? Date to string locale. I think it's like this. I am not quite sure why it's doing that. It's probably not liking that today's date. Jeremy says that's normal. Oh yes, to locale string. Thank you, Jeremy. All right, every Sith Lord needs an apprentice. So I guess Jeremy can fit the role of, well, I guess if I'm Vader, then he would be Anakin. He would be Luke. Potentially Luke. Okay, so today's date, let's try this out. I'm not sure if I can get it to tell me the difference, but maybe we can try. Right, what is the date? It doesn't, what is today's date, right? And maybe on another topic, what is today's date? Da, 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 da. And that is not correct, right? Is there a 17th? Okay, because it saw this. Okay, I'm wondering if oh, it didn't save. I didn't press save. There's another pitfall. Remember to click save. If you're on a smaller monitor, well, actually I don't have a small monitor, so chances are you have the same situation. Like you make edits here and you click here and it closes. Be careful. You have to scroll down to see the save button and you have to click that. Also, by the way, there's this button that's very useful. You also have to scroll down. It's the reset to default value. Because if you do this, you might not remember how it was. So this button is very important. Okay, so I'm going to bring back what I had, today's date. New date dot to locale string, like this. Okay. Okay, we have a preview here. It says today's date is so September 21st, 2023, and that is correct. Okay, good. So now I hit save. I'm just gonna click this again to make sure it's there. Yes, okay. I'm gonna try it again. Okay, there you go. Today's date is 21st. This is probably not a very good example. I'm guessing something that makes more sense would be more realistic. And how long ago was it announced? This makes maybe a little bit more sense. Oh, Jeremy has a good point. Try asking if the policy is already in effect. Okay, so I'll just ask this question. How long ago, so is the policy already in effect? Let's see if it works. It was announced. Well, here we might have a logical error. Unless it's already in effect, but it's starting, let's see here, effect. Okay, so there are changes that are happening immediately, so technically it's not completely wrong. This is an ambiguous situation here, so that's probably why this is happening. But there's some cases where this makes sense, where you want to have the gap or not. Maybe we can even do, and was it announced last week or last year? Who knows if this will work? It just gives the information. Okay, so this is actually perfect because we'll get to this later, like how to edit this so that it fits your standards and you can really control it. I am a developer. I like to control everything. AI sometimes drives me nuts. So I don't usually try to fit everything in a KB or AI task or anything. Usually it gives you like so results. It's always better to have like step by step, and every step is doing one single thing. You'll usually get better results. It might take a little bit more time to build it like that, but at least you won't go crazy when there are problems with the answers. Okay, the other thing is I believe you can do this here. Let's see, we have the user object here. So if we have anything set to the user object, we have the workflow object as well. So if you wanted to add any information, so in my previous stream, I showed you guys how to add information from the front end of your website to Botpress and store it in a workflow. And then you can access it from the workflow and have it be included here. So a good example of that would be the user is currently browsing this page. And then you could have, I don't know, workflow dot page name. I don't have this variable right now. But if you want to know how to save these, just look at my previous stream, page URL. So you could do something like this, and you would populate these two. And then if somebody says what's on this page, or I'm confused, or whatever, it would have an idea of what information is available to it. Okay, so I'm gonna reset to default values. Let's see, do I have everything for context? Yes, okay, let me check the questions. Okay, let's see, Narakaru. 。 . 。  . 。 . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . 。 . . . . 。 . . . . 。 . 。 . 。 . what's the difference between all the AI task cards? We could get that. We could get to that later. Imagine a knowledge. Okay, I think the questions were mostly answered. Can we make the AI task access our KB instead of using the KB agent query? Youssef, I don't think you were answered. Yes, we can do that. That's actually kind of usually how I do it. You don't have access to it directly, but you can query using the KB and then pass the information to it. Pure functions for the win, yes. Okay, so that's it for context. I'm gonna just reset to default values. This is already default. Okay, I'm gonna refresh. Go back here, flows. Okay. Next up, the dynamic knowledge base. We constantly get these questions, so I'm going to answer them. People want to be able to pick the text splitters or chunking. To customize the text splitters or chunking mechanisms, I don't know if we have plans to allow people to do it within the app, but there are ways to do it yourselves. And I will actually get down to that right now. So if you have like two different knowledge bases, so right now we have like pricing, and if we wanted to have another one, which is I have no idea, dev tools. Let's see, releases. Let's click that. See the newest release. Is there any interesting information here? Yeah, sure. Let's use this. Okay, so I'm gonna Control P, just save this as a PDF. There are other ways to do this, but I just want to show you some issues. And I'm going to add a knowledge base. I'm gonna add a document, and here I'm gonna drag this one. So the LTS release of Unity. Okay, so this is a different topic here. This is about the product, and this is about pricing. And maybe you'd want to direct a user to one of these two. So if you go to main here and you right click, create a standard node. If you want to query your database, your KB, sorry, you can look for the query knowledge here, and you can trigger it manually, which is what I do almost every time. In agents here, I would click knowledge and I would enable answer manually, and I would disable this answer on start node. This is the combination you want if you want full control. So it will only answer basically when you trigger it, and it won't actually answer. I mean, sorry, it will do the search when you trigger it, and it will not answer unless you answer. So I'm gonna hit save here, and okay, so I have my query like this. If you were to click this here and turn this on, it mostly does the same thing, but I like to have it in a card, and I like to control the query. So how do we approach the dynamic knowledge bases? So if you click this, you can see you don't really have a way to say, sorry, let me go here to flows, to say which KB you wanna pick. To do that, the main way that we've been telling people is descriptions. So here, when you click your KB, you can change the name to, for instance, pricing. And then the description, this is about Unity's pricing questions. And then the new KB here, you can name this product releases. And this is about Unity's latest product release. Okay, so typically we've been asking people to do this. For me, like if you really have two different topics, maybe it's worth also thinking maybe you'd want to have two different bots. especially if they're just information based. You can just ask yourself, do you want to do that? Do you really want to just have one bot? Uh, if they're different enough, maybe they're worth splitting up. So it's always something to keep in mind. And if you have a lot of work that you want to share, you can always click the Botpress icon here and just export your file and then import it. So you'd like duplicate your bot, and then you could change it like that. But otherwise, use descriptions. And then I would say even if you can, if you're a developer, just use tables. Because you can actually query this and have full control. So I'm going to add a table like this here. And am I going to add a record right now? Basically, there were questions about chunking here. I don't think I'm going to cover this because it's going to take a little bit more time if I were to cover it today. But I can walk through with you what I would do. So if I really want full control over chunking, I would basically create a CSV from the documents that I'm using. So if I have this PDF like this, like a very dumb example here would be like you would have a paragraph like this. It would be a string, and you make it searchable. So you could write code to extract all the chunks that you want. So if people are not familiar with the word chunk, let me explain it really quickly. When you have like a lot of text like this, we have to break it down into smaller pieces so that we can feed the smaller pieces to either to search or to thank you, Robert, or to an AI task. Because for AI, the length of the content that you feed it is very important. Usually with GPT 3.5, there's a 4,000 token limit. A token is a way to count characters. So it's all very complicated. But the important part is that in order to make everything work seamlessly, we have to take text and split it into little pieces. So for instance, if we were to do this, go here, I would click add a record, and under paragraph I could add like this, and I could add another record here. This is kind of a silly way of doing it, but if you really want full control, you can do it like this. So all you have to do is generate a CSV with code, and then you just import it and you have it all here. So that's the other approach. If you really want full control and you want to filter, sorry, a very important thing here. I did not say this would be like the source, which could be a string, and this could be I took it from here or from here, from here. So this would be like pricing. This would be pricing, let's say. And I could add another one just to show you. I'm doing this all manually, but I would do this with code. And this would be LTS info, like this. And then under main here, instead of using something like this where you can't pick it, this might work, just to backtrack a little bit, but like this might work with descriptions, but it doesn't always work. So if you really want full control, the only way that I've found so far is to use tables. So then with tables, you can, let's see, let me try to find it. Find records right here. Then you could have a record filter saying, what do we say here? So results from pricing, like this. You could pick your data table, and then you would come up with a variable like this, and then you could display your result. So yeah, so I have these three approaches. So like using the description, which should be your default. If it doesn't work, now you have a little bit more trouble. So it's either splitting your bot if it's pure KB, or using tables. Then you kind of need code probably to like upload your documents, because if you have stuff like this that's a little bit messy, you'll want to upload it like this. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some product changes that will make this simpler. in the future, but for the moment, these are the ways that work. Okay, so let me see. Can paragraphs also get too big to be in a single chunk? How big is your chunk size? Just to make sure we're not... Okay, so I'm not sure how big the chunk size is, but you could probably just... I'm guessing we're using the same engine. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm guessing we're chunking them in the same way. Since in tables, searchable is more or less the same function as KBs. I'm guessing like just try to see what the character limit is by just adding more text. Oh, we do like this, like this. Does it save? Okay, let's try doubling it again. Okay, this might not work. Oh, it still works. Okay, that's interesting. I don't know, just play around with it, see what works. This is the most flexible solution, I would say. All right. Oh, there's another solution that I didn't mention, but you can always do that. I have here, here, in quick reference, we have reference the raw answer from knowledge base query. So if you were to click this, go back to main, I'll delete that. I'll use execute code, open this up, and I'll remove these. Okay, so here we have the raw response from the search. So kb.results.map. And we're just going through them and converting them to text. But what you can do is you can also add a filter. And I believe you can filter by source, but I really quickly like this, I don't remember exactly the notation. Do I have a chat event? I don't. Okay, what was my last? Okay, I'm gonna go into JSON. So you actually have like all the information about the conversation here. And this is the event object. So event.kb is right here. Results, and you can filter based off the KB ID, the KB description, or the friendly name, whatever you want. These are the things that we have. Let's see, pricing. Don't know if we have other things. What was the question? It was the pricing policy, so that's why everything is about pricing. But if you were to ask an ambiguous question, you could filter by like KB description. So you could say a dot KB description is equal to, and then you could just take this, or you could just do a string search and put it like that. So if you did it like this, it would not be perfect because it would still get results from the other tables, but at least the results that you're going to display are going to be only from the KB that you want, from the source that you want. And then once you have something like this, you can pass this to an AI task. So if I were to copy this, close this, click add card, AI task. Oops. Reduce this. This is where we need the double braces. Okay, let's see. Okay, this results in undefined, I think, because there's nothing here for the moment. Okay, so given the user's last question, answer it using the info provided. Okay, so here I would have info provided, user's last question, which would be event.preview. Okay. Let me just remove this execute code. Okay, so I'm going to actually show you an example of this. I think we can do that. Here, let's just start with event.preview. So by default, if you do something like this, event.preview, it's going to be exactly the same as you turn this on and answer automatically. But now we don't want it to answer automatically, so we're giving it event.preview. Let's start it like this. And this should filter it properly, hopefully. So we need to store. Okay. So here we need to say, actually we don't need to store it here. We don't need to store it here because the KB results is a special variable that always appears in events. You might need to store it if you do multiple steps though, but in our case we only have one step, so we don't need to care about that. What I mean by multiple steps is if you do multiple knowledge base queries, it will overwrite. You only have the last one here. But we're only going to have one. So we're going to start with this. We don't save it because we grab it from the event object. And we should output this to bot response. Like that. And then we should just output this. Workflow.bot response. Okay, now I'm going to try to ask an ambiguous question. Let's see, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Between pricing and LTS. Does the new pricing question affect the LTS? Does the new pricing policy affect LTS? Let's see how this goes. Okay, no valid answer found. Let's see, but it did get some results. So I'm going to click 0. Let's see what this is. Language. Well, actually, this is probably not mentioned anywhere. So that's why we're not getting any results. But I wanted to show you how it filters. So we have something about the latest product release. Latest product release. Latest product release. And here, this is about pricing's question. So that's what we wanted. So as you can see, it's grabbing information from both. But when we go back to main here, it should be filtering it. There is a problem somewhere. Let me just try to debug this. So I'm going to click this right here, go to Event Debugger. I want to click AI task. Okay, so see here we were provided info. And we have the last question. And let's see if the info, so what were we filtering here again? We were filtering for the product release and not the pricing change. Okay, so it's normal, I can't find the answer. So here we should see nothing about the pricing change. Let me try this. Yeah, this is the problem. So this is actually correct. This is what we want. If we want to filter only by the latest product release and not about pricing policy, I just showed you how this works. I'm not sure why it's not showing it's not evaluating here, but like ignore that if it works. I'll just go here and see if it displays in the AI task like this. This is the proper way of seeing if it works or not. Okay, so yeah, that's the fourth way. So just to reiterate again, let me just write this down so I don't forget here. So filter after. So the ways to do dynamic knowledge bases and filter. So the first way is if it makes sense for you, just split it into bots. Have a bot for one function, one bot for another, and have both bots be really good at what they do. You have less chance of collision, which might be favorable. Just think about it. The other one is using descriptions. We have tons of videos and docs covering that. The next one is tables. If you want to write a script to create lots of stuff, you don't also have to just upload a CSV. Uh, I showed it to you with CSV, but you can also uh, have a trigger here. You can create a webhook receiver, and then you can basically send your information to this. And then this is like what I did in the last video. You can have another standard node here, and you can have, where's insert record? You can insert record this way. So if you want to just do it by code, you can just call the API, the webhook URL, let's say, that receives information and just insert records from it. Like that, you control the chunking 100%. If you want a chunk, if you want every single row to be a single character, it's probably not going to be a good result, but you can do it if you want to. I don't recommend this. It's going to be as good as Unity's pricing policy. Okay, so, and the last one is the filter, which I just showed right here. So these 4 ways. Okay, so any questions? When you say using 2 bots, do you mean creating an API that sends and receives responses between these 2 bots to help do X? You can, yes, you can do that, I think. Let me do like a quick mental check. Yes, you can do that. I don't know if I recommend doing that. I've never tried it on a real live bot, but in theory you should be able to do that. So you create a trigger, you have a webhook URL here that you send information to, then you would have here a query knowledge base, which would take the information from here, and then you would have to have an execute code, which would send the information back to your first bot using webhook, but you'd have to pass the conversation ID through and then back. But you could do it if you wanted to. I'm not sure of the implications on pricing also. Not sure if it's a good idea or not. But hey, you know what? Like, try it out. Let us know how it goes. We'd be very curious in hearing how that goes. Yes. Yeah, the conversation ID. Like, does everybody here know? Okay. If you want to do these kinds of shenanigans, you need the conversation ID, which is found here. Just so you can grab it from event.conversation ID, and you should always pass it with your webhook so that when it comes back, and you want to output anything, you need to. I believe you can set the conversation ID. Let's see, with execute codes, events.conversation ID. I think you can set this. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody told me you could do this. Anybody in the chat? No? Okay. But the idea, if I remember well, would be to do something like this. Let's say remote conversation ID, because that's the one you're getting it from somewhere else. But yes, you can create like bot parts using this method. Okay, so I'm gonna close this. Yes, very, very powerful stuff. It's a secret. Don't tell anybody I said this. Except the people on YouTube in the comments. Okay, so all right, next up, how to work with Botpress automatic chunking. So I kind of covered that. There's one thing that I wanted to show you guys also. The problem. You're always gonna have some problems with chunking. And you can fix it with chunking it yourself. But also, I just wanted to mention something with PDFs right now, and maybe images or some kind of funky data that's not exactly just pure text. Sometimes the engines have a bit of trouble chunking them properly. So, for instance, looking for stuff like this, it might like stop chunking it here. So it would keep this as a paragraph, and then this as a paragraph. Which is not ideal because it should know what this is sometimes, or other use cases might be like tables might have trouble like knowing how far it should chunk. Should it chunk a row? Should it chunk, it's kind of a little bit ambiguous. So whenever possible, if you can, just convert everything to text and make sure it makes sense in text, in pure text. If you want to do something real quick, just do like PDF to text and just pick one of these and try it out. If you don't want to do it with code, like just to see if it fixes your problem, because very, very often it will fix your problems. And that's what we want. We want to fix problems. We don't want to figure out 100% of everything. Okay, so all right, so that's the automatic chunking. So just remember to convert to plain text if you have issues with PDFs, CSVs, JSON files, whatever. And just see if that fixes your issue. Even if you don't want to use TXT, it's a good idea to do it just to know where the issue is and make sure that it's a chunking issue and not an AI issue. Okay. All right, next up, pre-processing a user query. Okay, so we covered right here the context, but I almost never use the context, if I'm being fair. I almost always just use AI tasks before. So if we go back to this right here, did I remove the query? Yeah, I did. Let me bring that back. Okay, so if we go back here, and this is how it normally is. I would normally change this to something else. Just because I like to have control. I know in theory, everything should work out of the box, but we are developers, we're working on the edge cases, we want to make sure we have full control and full visibility. Black boxes are kind of annoying sometimes. So in those cases, just basically put an AI task in front. Here, like this. And then what I like to say is like pretends, or you are, you don't need to say you're a helpful assistant. Convert the user query, the user's last message to a Google search. You could even give it some context, like your goal is to help the user is to do research for the user to help them, I don't know, understand more about what they are asking. Something like that. And then task, whoops. Task. Okay, and then I would even just write Google search query. Why do I say Google search? Because it's the most popular search. It knows what it is. There's probably tons of Reddit forums about optimizing Google search, so I would do something like that. Even though we're not using Google search, it's just so that it has the highest probability of working. And then the AI inputs. This is where this is useful. You just copy this, go back here and paste it there. And I think that's it. Google search query knowledge bases. No, now we need to change this. So workflow.google search query, like this. And then we will link them up like this. Oh, we could put everything together as well, because it's all a sequence. Okay, so now we do a search, control it like this. We query it like this. We don't need to store it, and then we show the results. I'm going to remove that filter right now for the moment, like this. And we're gonna respond. Okay, I'm gonna ask the same question. Is this gonna change anything? Okay, all right, because we removed the filter now, the pricing policy The pricing policy probably covers everything. I don't know if they mentioned this or not explicitly. But actually, if you want to figure out how it's linking, uh, now you kind of can, because you're the one who's coming up with the AI task. So if you go back to Event Debugger, click AI task. Actually, let's see the first one, because that's what I was doing. You can see Google search query is, does the new pricing policy affect LTS? The good thing about this is that you can stay like, what about non-LTS? Now, it might not work because I did not give a very strong input, but let's see. Okay. So the problem here is, what about non-LTS? And it's repeating the first one. So AI models have a tendency to repeat the first one, which is why using the transcript like this is somewhat dangerous. So user's last message, you often have to do something like this. And I'm going to reuse this. I'm going to change this to event.preview. Like that. Okay, so I'm going to do the same sequence. So this one first. And then what about non-LTS? Go to AI task. Okay. So the reason why you might want to do this is actually because you want to say, what about Unity's non-LTS here? I didn't do it here. We could add something like, make sure that all keywords are there as Google has no context whatsoever. Could do something like that. We can try this out. Okay. You probably need a task example to make it work. The point is, you can change this to, you have control over this if you do it like that. And that's why you would want actually to pre-process it here. So you basically, you take the user's message, you convert it to search, then you actually do search, and then you process the answer. Like this, you have full control over every single step. If anything goes wrong, you can go back and fix it. Here I used query knowledge bases, but you can also use tables. You can use other stuff. And that's it, I think. And then we also did a bit of post-processing. There's another thing I wanted to show you guys. I'll just share the link real quick. I don't know if you guys have used learnprompting.org before or not, but I find it wonderful. It's a great resource to learn about prompting to get what you want. So chain of thought prompting like this. For instance, here in Google search query, I'm going to create a new AI task here. There is a bug right now, I believe, where you cannot reorder the results. So if you were to add something like chain of thought, like this. So chain of thought basically says, come up with the answer, but only after you have discussed about it. This is a method to improve the quality of your responses. So if you were to do something like this, you have no way of reordering it right now. And if you were to delete this and you did Google search query, it will show it like this, but actually, they saw this. But basically you cannot reorder it, and that's the problem. Because you need the chain of thought to be before the actual result. So if you want to start doing this, just remember you need to create a new AI task. But it's pretty fast to do because you just have to do this. Think step by step. take a deep breath. So there's a new study that just came out, which I find is very interesting. For solving math problems, they just asked ChatGPT the same question, but they would add "take a deep breath" before, and they were getting better results when they did that. So I guess it basically tells it to slow down. Yes, for real. So from now on, I'm almost like gonna put this everywhere. Then come up with the answer. Okay, so I would go here. So I'm just showing you one of the ways to improve it. I'm gonna take this. The other way, if I had a bit more time, what I would do is I would actually not give it the transcript. When I wanted to generate this Google search query, I would try to only give it the summary, but make sure that it's a summary of the last bits. So I'd split it in two parts. I would grab the summary of the last bit, and then I would give it the transcript. Just because it has a tendency to repeat itself, if you provide the transcript like this, it can verbatim answer the same thing. So if I had more time, I basically would split this in two steps, and I wouldn't have this right here. Okay, so this is good. And then here, what I need to do is I need to add chain of thought first. And then add Google search query like this. And all right, so I can now, oh, did it not work? Okay, it's good. I'll delete this, add this here. This might solve the issue, I'm not sure. But what would really help is adding an input example and this right here. So I'm gonna try it again. And then I think that's gonna be it for today, no matter what. Let's see if that fixed it. Okay, no, this did not work. Probably you just need an example here. So like for instance, what is it? What is Botpress? The chain of thought is what's gonna really help here, because it will help I understand. The it in the input is, oh, sorry, I need to give it the summary. So this needs to be what is it? Let's see. So user where am I? Just coming up with a quick example. You are on botpress.com. What is it? The user is asking about Botpress. All right, and I think that's it. The it in the input refers to Botpress, so the Google search query should mention Botpress for it to make sense. All right, so it doesn't take that much time to do these, and usually helps. Did I write later? Last? Later. Okay, like this. And all right, I know I should probably look at questions, but I really want this to work. Let's see if it works. Chain of thought. Okay, there you go. It's working. Wonderful. Okay, so yay. So yeah, I showed you how I would basically have full control over KBs, tables, and whatnot. And hopefully this was useful for you guys. We're out of time, unfortunately, so I won't be able to have a look at questions too much. Maybe I can just look at the last question. What happens if the conversation history or answers returned from the KB search causes the task inputs to get too long? Okay. I don't think I can cover this, but you'd have to do chunking here, basically. So if what I would do here, I would have an execute code. Where's the execute code? Always looking for stuff here. So if I have execute code here and I have like a very long string, you would have some kind of like logic. Let's see. Let's create a variable called very long string or very long text. That's more user friendly. And let's have another one called chunked text and have it an array string like this. All right, so now we have both. So I could say chunk the very long text into by paragraphs. I don't know. Enter. Okay, there you go. So, all right. So it would chunk it like that. You could chunk it in other ways, by sentences if you want. I don't know how it would do that. Probably regex and yeah. Okay, there you go. So you could chunk it like this. Bring it into smaller parts. Then you'd have to have AI tasks to basically crunch it. So you'd probably want, I don't know, like 2,000 characters by paragraphs, by max 2,000 characters. Keep paragraphs together. This is probably what you want to do, something like this. I haven't tried this text. I don't know if it's working, this code, but presumably it does. Otherwise, just play around with this. This is how you would do it. Actually, you should probably do this. You should at least check if your text is too long, your input text, and if it is, process it like this. All right, that's it for today. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next week.